levatola. You look at the Lashon of Ramosha in Chelek Daled Kuf Chof Gimel, where he brings down those people that are selling Machshel Rabim, Shem Yirachim, when he talks about you buy a canary lulav. Be very careful that your lulav is an emistic lulav and not a canary lulav. How do you find that out? These are the nafkaminas, the distance, the softer spine, smaller spine, the dust between the leaves. Those are some of the simonim that we have to tell between a lulav and a canary, which again is a bracha levatola kamat according to all the poskim. Now there's a major machlokes rishonim and machlokes aposkim in the psul of a lulav, which comes out lemaisa to be for us a chumrah, according to Sfarim to be a kula. And that is according to Shulchan Aruch. Again, this is Machlokes Rishonim also. Only if rove of the leaves have a problem is the lulav puzzle. According to Ramah, we don't care about rove of the leaves, we care about one, the tiyomis, the middlemost leaf, which we'll get to right now. I'm going to try to teach you how to check your own lulav, but be very, very careful. State in the Mishnah, right? Kapois tomorrow means it's tied in, right? It stays in one. So therefore you try to get a lulav where it's tightly packed like that, as opposed to obviously if it's coming out over there. Nifrudu olav, the halacha of it is it's kosher. That means if it's slightly opening up like that, it's kosher. But like the Ramah says, it's a mitzvah and a mufcha for a person to find one that's completely tightly packed as much as you possibly can. Nechel gat tiyomis, that the tiyomis is split. So like I said, according to the Shulchan Aruch, according to Sfarim, we don't really care about the tiyomis, it's roiv of the leaves. According to As Ashkenazim, the Ramah, we only go with the tiyomis that makes it possible. That means, the Torah brings this down b'shem the Rosh, that if a person has a leaf, every leaf is made into two. It's a double, right? It's a twin. And therefore, if it's split somewhere over there, then you have a problem. Now, how do you check? Again, I don't know if I would suggest to do this yourself, because you could end up splitting the tiyomis in the process, which could make a big problem. But you look for the tiyomis, you follow up the spine to the middlemost one. So this one actually has two tiyomis in, but if you have one tiyomis in the middle, you look for that one and you see what is the situation. So here you can see it quite clearly. You take the schedule, you take the spine, you follow it up, you end up with three, and the middle one over there, that's what we're looking at. So we don't really care about all of those, we only care about that tiyomis over there. That would make a big difference in that case. Now, how much does it have to be split? Major Shailim in the post-skim, ask a local rabbi exactly how that works. If it's split a little bit, if it's split a small amount, whatever it is, you can see it's a major machlokes, whatever it is. Even if it's split a small amount, it could be that it's still kosher as long as it's not roiv of the actual leaf. Now, there is a marsham, famous marsham by Hilchos Shofar, by the way, also, that if you can glue it up, it could be it's okay, because the Ritva Paskins, the whole reason why you shouldn't take a lulav that is partially split is because it's going to split more. But if you're going to glue it up, then it could be it's okay. Like by Shofar the Marsham, okay, Okapodim, if it's Nagay, ask a local Orthodox rabbi. The Korah, for example, on the top, right, you have the brown stuff sometimes on the top. So it's interesting that the Gedolim sometimes used to take this bedafka to show that it was stark inside, but then they stopped doing it. Rabbi Zol Obach told me that the Briskerov and the Chazanish, they all stopped doing it because they were choishish that maybe inside could be a shayla of a psul and you're not checking it, so therefore you don't know. And therefore just because it's got the korah doesn't mean that's a guarantee that it's kosher. The Sfadim are generally taking one with the korah. The Ashkenazim don't, also for another reason, is because the Bekur Yaakov, right? Bekur Yaakov says the Indian of the shaking and the Naniim, and therefore that's the reason why a person doesn't take with korah. So generally the Ashkenazim will not take with the korah. Yovish, I don't think we'd have a shayla unless using last year's esrog. That's going to be a shayla yovish. It should try to be straight. If the tips are reddish or brown at the top, which they generally are because they're burnt by the sun, Chazanish Paskins, then it's kosher. Niktam Moshe, again, you need an expert to see whether or not the top of the lulav has been cut off, because even b'mashu, a tiny bit, is going to make the lulav 100% possible. Hemnuk means, okay, people get confused. Hemnuk doesn't mean split. Split is something else. It could be split like this, and be'etzem it's kosher because it's only a small amount. So it's kosher als split. But hemnuk means, Rashi says it's like scissors. It's going in two different directions. Rav Freeland told me that Rav Elyashiv told him that a hemnuk means it's going mamish in two different directions like that. So therefore it's going in two different directions. That's considered to be a hemnuk, and that could be mamish of shayla of a psul. Those of you that remember last year going around, we found quite a few lulavim that were a psul of hemnuk. There are different shaylas of a knepel. Many of the Chassidim are makbid to take, sometimes only a knepel, sometimes one of each, whatever it may be. There are different ways and different minhagim. Follow your local minig. We just haven't got much time. Obviously, you should try to be as straight as possible by putting it that way and see if it's straight. The share, the lulav, we generally don't have so much of a shayla with, because most of ours are the share, and therefore we're not worried about that. Let's move on very, very quickly, Rabbi Isai, to number 3. Va'anaf eitz avos. Va'anaf eitz avos tells us about the Heilige Hadas. And by the way, people don't chap. The briskers have been looking since last Hanukkah for a one Hadas, right? One of the brisker poskim, I don't remember who it was, walked into Yontov on the first day of Sukkot with one Hadas. They looked at him and said, I think you left the other two. No, I only found the one that was kosher, right? People don't chap. In here in Eretz Yisrael, they spend hours upon hours on the Hadassim. Hadassim, I don't know, so you just pick up one and just off you go, right? But the Mamish, the Hadassim and the Mishulish and everything, it's not such a posh azach to find one that's really Muhuda. But I'll just give you the idea. State, Anaf eitz in the Pasuk. We darshan. Anaf v'chayfim es eitz, that means that the most Muhuda Hadassim are to have ones that you don't see the stick. That the leaves are covering, right? They're overlapping and they're covering the stick. That's the most muhuda, but even if it's sticking out, you do see the stick, it's 100% kosher. And again, this is a chumrah to make sure that the leaf overlaps the one on top of it, but even if it doesn't, like over here, it is going to be good. The Yavitz holds it's possible, but most hold, that's how we pass, and that it's going to be kosher in that case. Okay, so let's move on very quickly to what this is. By the way, there is Shitas Rashi, right? They can find it now. Rashi holds that all three are coming from exactly the same place, the same sprout. It's very, very difficult. It's rather expensive, but they do have Hadassim that have such a thing. Tosfos comes along and says, Rashi, you're making life very difficult for people, and therefore it's not the pshat that all three are coming out the same place, but the pshat is they're on the same level. And that is what people are spending months and months trying to find out exactly what that means. Once again, Machlokas Rishonim, which we haven't got time to be Meirich in, but that's what it is. A Hadas Shaita in the Gemara is a hadas that two of the leaves are on one level and one leaf is coming from a different level. That's a hadas shaita. That's really not going to be good. It's going to be possible. And again, depending on how it is. There's a Chazon Ish that most of us hold like, otherwise we'd have big problems. The Chazon Ish says, I'd rather that's the best. If you're going to get hadassim that all three on all levels are exactly the same, you should be paying about 200 shekel a stick for that. Okay, that's something that's very, very rare. People would pay hundreds of shekel just for that. Whereas what you're going to find is something like this, which is what the Chazon Ish calls the chut makif, which is basically means that if I would take a stick and I would wrap it around the root where it comes from, if somewhere along the string it meets each other, then I'm good, and therefore it's going to be okay. So, for example, over here you could see that this one and this one, they don't exactly start at the right place. But if I would take a string and wrap it around, all the roots would meet. And that's why, all right, you see the same thing over here. They're not starting exactly the same place, but if I would take a string and wrap it around, they would meet. That the Chazon Ish Paskins is okay, and that's basically what we do, which the Rav Osna and others held. There has to be near nine roughly. You turn it around that way. If it looks mishulish that way, then you're good. You're okay over there. If one of the leaves are taller, it's also going to be kosher in that case. How much has to be mishulish? Again, each package normally describes how much it is. Where it has to be, the halacha is anywhere the muhuda is, that it should be on the top, because then you could see it over there. Be very careful over there. When it comes, okay, so that's the shurim again. We haven't got too much time. Alidei tziruf means if it's mishulish a bit here, add a bit here, and together, if I add them up, it's going to be roiv. So we paskin that tziruf will be okay. Yavesh means it's dry, which again the Mishnah Berurah says the Chofetz Chaim says it's not negay, but any hadassim you buy this year, even though during Yom Tov some days they get a bit dry, that's not called Yavish in the Mishnah, and therefore that is 100% kosher in that case. Niktam Rosh means the Rosh, the stick of the Hadas, which is kosher, but again, Tov LaHachmin not to do that. Mashra Olah, that if some of the leaf gets torn off, which can happen again, it's kosher, but again, Mitzvah Mavrovka, which means a person has to be very, very careful to make sure that his Hadassim are done properly. Now, this is very important when it comes to the Heilige Koshikol. The Koshikol that the minig of most people have is to use a Koshikol. Be very careful. People spend a fortune on their daled minim, and then they stick it into the koshikol, they rip it out to put it in the fridge, and the leaves fall off left, right, and center. They're left with a b'diavad daled minim, which is such a chaval after spending money. Look after the koshikol. The eights of the koshikol is either take up the whole koshikol and wrap it up, or squeeze in the two ends of the koshikol, which enlarges it, and then you take it out very, very slowly and carefully to make sure nothing gets ruined over there. The shurim are over here, but of course, we're not going to go into over here. The last one, Iravis. Rabbi said Iravis is what I call a mace mitzvah. Poshat mace mitzvah. Why is that a mace mitzvah? Mace mitzvah is someone, Nebuch, someone that hasn't anyone to care for. The Iravis is Poshat mace mitzvah. What do I do with the roast? I'll spend hours on the esrog. I'll spend even more hours on the hadassim. Hours on my lulav. Iravis. You're going to go. Look, could you pick me up a couple of packs of Iravis? I'm not going to look at it. Who cares? But it's lucky dip. You stick your hand in. Okay, found it. It's mamish a mace mitzvah situation. Iravis are very choshev a mitzvah. We have to understand this. Many halachas. pasuk of Arvei Nachal. Rabbi said we're going very quickly because we don't have the time. Right? Tanu Rabbanan. Eizah Rava. How do we know it's an Arava? So the Gemara tells us the simonim that tell us what is considered to be a kosher Rava. Our Ravas are good. So the Heilige Beisayis to the Taz and others that it means that you have the stick that's red. Does it have to be red? No. Avad you can get one that's green. But there's a hiddur to find one that's got a slightly orange or brown or red tinge to it. There's a hiddur to have that in your aravas. Again, it's kosher if it's 100% green again, but it's a more mahuddah to have it in that case. Obviously, the leaf is smooth, as we said. Nektam Rosha, we haven't got time. Nektam Rosha means the top of the aravas. Has that little level of over there. There was a whole kuntras that came out in Lakewood about the level of over here. A person has to be careful to make sure it's not nektam roshai. Make sure the top of the aravas are complete. Make sure you look at your aravas before you buy them over there. Noshu olav, again, noshu olav, people rip out the aravas or they put it in by sticking it in fast. It's a big chaval. They're losing out on the big hiddur of the aravas over there, and it ends up looking like that, which of course is problematic. Yavish is not such a shaila, even though they get dry during Yom Tov. It's not considered to be yavish. Yavish means it goes completely white, which is not so negah. Now, this is something which is negah here in Eretz Yisrael, that, if you don't get the Muncie ones, for example, as soon as you take it out of the package, everything faces downwards. So if you look at the Rava Magid, or Genevron, Mishabur brings it also, is that it comes out, it could be that it's actually a shail of a psul, which is why some people are makpid not to get such a thing. The Genevron Paskins that way, but they tiny that's only if it grew that way. If it's just that way because that's how they make it and that's how it comes out and that's the atmosphere of the heat, whatever, so that's not going to be possible, which means that all our Ravas are 100% kosher without any shaila. These are the shurim over there. Rabbi said, thank you for listening. We should be Zoycha Beis Hashem to keep all the halachas. Have a wonderful day.